Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to go over the Holy Paladin, kind of give you a little bit of a guide on that. We'll go over the talents and the stat priority mainly. So, first off, 5 out of 5 in spiritual focus. Keeps you from getting pushed back. Pretty straightforward, and Seals of the Pure are useless for Holy Paladins, really. 5 out of 5 Divine Intellect. Increases your intellect by 10%. No brainer. 3 out of 3 Healing Light. Increases the amount healed by Holy Light, Flash of Light, and Holy Shock. 12%. Your 3 main spells, so no brainer again. Illumination. 5 out of 5. So anytime you get a crit from your healing spells, you get 30% of your base mana cost for that spell back. So that's pretty good. Aura Mastery. I have this. I hardly ever use it. It's rarely beneficial. I don't suggest taking it if you can get by without it. Improved Lay on Hands. 20% reduced physical damage taken by the target of your Lay on Hands and reduces the cooldown by 4 minutes, which brings it down to 16 minutes. So that's pretty good talent there as well. Improved Blessing of Wisdom. Increases the effect by 20%. That's pretty good. That's usually what you want on yourself. Divine Favor. Honestly, I usually even forget to use this cooldown. Gives you a 100% crit chance on your next spell, but I crit so much when I'm healing that I usually forget this. But you have to take it to get to Holy Shock, so take it. Sanctified Light. Critical effect chance of Holy Light and Holy Shock by 6%. That's pretty good. Purifying Power is going to reduce the mana cost of your cleanse. The rest of those spells, whatever, but cleanse is one that you'll use a good bit. So it's not a horrible talent to take. I wouldn't say it's necessary either, though. 5 out of 5 in Holy Power. Critical effect chance of your holy spells by 5%. Definitely want that. Holy Shock, you're going to love this spell. Definitely take that. 3 out of 3 Light's Grace. So when you cast your Holy Light, you'll see you've got a 2.31 second cast for me with my current gear. So if I cast it, my next Holy Light will take 1.85 seconds. So when you're looking to spam this, you can put out a lot more healing a little faster. Anyways, moving on. Next tier, 5 out of 5, Holy Guidance increases your spell power by 20% of your total intellect. And you're going to start to notice a trend here. Total intellect. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about it in a bit. Divine Illumination reduces the mana cost of all spells by 50% for 15 seconds. This is a really good cooldown when you know you're about to have to spam Holy Light a lot. Just pretty decent cooldown to have. Judgment of the Pure, 5 out of 5. Yes, it increases the damage of your seal and judgment. Nobody cares. What you do care about is your judgment spells increase your casting and melee haste by 15% for 1 minute. So you're going to be able to get your heals out faster with this. So judgment is always going to be part of your rotation. Infusion of Light. Your Holy Shock critical hits reduce the cast time of your next Flash of Light by 1.5 seconds. So Flash of Light casting time is 1.5 seconds. This makes your next Flash of Light instant cast. I use that quite a bit for that. Or alternatively, if you get a crit on your Holy Shock, it will increase the critical chance of your next Holy Light by 20%. In addition, If you're healing the target that you have your sacred shield on, you'll get, what was it? An additional 100% healing. This is the only heal over time you will get as a holy paladin. It's fine. It's not horrible. Honestly, you could do without it, but it's fine. Enlightened Judgments increases the range of your Judgment of Light and Judgment of Wisdom by 30 yards. That increases the range up to 40 yards for your Judgment, which means in raids you can stand at max range and still heal and be able to get your Judgment out for the increased haste. And then Beacon of Light, this is, yeah, an amazing spell. You put this on the tank, and anytime you cast a heal on anyone else in the party or raid, the tank will also receive 100% of the heal. So it's doubling your healing. That's usually what I get in the Holy Tree. Now we'll move on to Protection. 5 out of 5 in Divinity increases all healing done by you and to you by 5%. So that's just a straight up healing increase. You definitely want that. I pick up Guardian's Favor just because it reduces the cooldown of Hand of Protection, which is the one that you can put on other party members. It does not protect them from magical attacks, but all physical attacks it will protect them. So I take this because a lot of times I'll have a mage or a warlock in the group doing a ton of AoE damage and pulling threat. I can save them with this usually and give the tank a chance to pick up aggro again. So it's fairly useful to get. Now, a lot of the builds you'll see that people are picking up for Holy Paladins include picking up 3 out of 3 Stoicism. Then you'll get Divine Sacrifice, waste 4 talents in Toughness, and then 2 points into Divine Guardian. I don't like this. Really, all you're getting out of it, number 1, Divine Sacrifice. I never use this as a Holy Paladin because out of the entire raid, the person I am least likely to remember to heal is myself. So I don't need this. Chances are I will die if I use this. So I never pick. I don't consider this worth picking up or using. Now, the purpose of picking up Divine Guardian is it buffs your Sacred Shield, increases the duration by 100% and the amount absorbed by 20%. That is somewhat useful. Is it worth putting 9 more talents in the protection tree to get it? I really don't think so. That's a judgment call for y'all to make. Me personally, I would rather go over to the ret tree. 5 out of 5 benediction reduces the mana cost of all instant cast spells by 10%. And this affects your beacon. This affects your holy shock. This affects your judgment, your seals. If you're using it, consecration, although usually you won't be using that. But your hammer of justice, anything instant cast, this reduces the mana cost. So that's a pretty good investment in points right there. Then me personally, I also pick up Heart of the Crusader. This will make your judgment cause the target. Oh, wow, sorry. In addition to the normal effect, your judgment spells will also increase the critical strike chance of all attacks made against that target by 3%. So, it doesn't really help you healing. It will help your group. I also pick up improved judgments to decrease the cooldown on my judgment. Not necessary. Neither one of these is necessary as a holy paladin. You could put these talents elsewhere. But what I will say is you could take this point out of aura mastery and probably these 2 points out of purifying power and be able to get 3 points in conviction, which would give you another 3% crit chance. That's really just personal preference. There are quite a few talent, like there's a lot of different builds you could go with this. You could also take these 5 points out of ret and pick up sacred cleansing, I guess, if you wanted, or pure of heart. Blessed hands, whatever. Improved concentration aura, like you could pick up any of these. Unyielding faith wouldn't be horrible. So there are a few talents that you could play around with there and move around. It really just comes down to personal preference. Do what you want with it. As far as glyphs go, you're going to want Glyph of Holy Light. 10% of your Holy Light heal is going to be also cast on 5 friendly targets within 8 yards of the initial target. So if you're casting Holy Light on a tank or a melee target, it's going to affect all targets, or 5 extra targets in melee range, potentially. So that's pretty good. Glyph of Beacon of Light increases the duration of Beacon of Light by 30 seconds. This puts it up to a minute and a half duration. So the reason I really like this is especially on the longer fights where you're running low on mana anyways. You always want Beacon up. But this spell costs 1383 mana. That's more than a Holy Light. So the less you have to recast your beacon, the more mana you're saving. So that's a pretty good that's a pretty good glyph to take. And Glyph of Seal of Light. While Seal of Light is active, the effect of your healing is increased by 5%. During raids, I definitely use Seal of Light. During heroics, I usually don't even bother with the Seal of Light, and I'm running Seal of Wisdom. I'll be running into melee range to be hitting mobs and regenerating my mana that way. You see here you've got 4% of your maximum mana per hit. You have a chance to regain 4% of your mana every hit. So that talent we were talking about, the Judgments of the Pure, increase your casting and melee haste. That's why the melee haste is important. You can get your mana back quicker. You'll also notice we were going to talk about stat priorities a little bit. Your first priority will be to stack intellect. And the reason for this is 25% of your total mana over 15 seconds with your divine plea. You can get back 25% of your mana. So if you have 10,000 mana, you're going to get 2,500 mana. If you have 20,000 mana, this ability gives you 5,000 mana. That's why you want to stack intellect. You'll get more use out of your divine plea with this. Also, the mana restored from your Seal of Wisdom is also a percentage base, 4%. So the more mana you have, the more you'll get back per hit. So that's why you're stacking intellect as much as possible. As well as that one talent, whichever one it was, I can't remember. Right here, 20% of your you'll increase your spell power by 20% of your total intellect. So the more intellect you have, the more spell power you have as well. After intellect, you're going to want to split between crit and haste. Crit is not as important in Wrath as it was in Burning Crusade, when the Illumination would give you 60% of your mana back for every crit. Now in Wrath it's only 30%, so that bumps crit down a little on the stat priority. Haste is always good. You're just going to increase your or decrease your casting time. You'll be able to cast faster and get more healing out. That's always a good stat, but you still want some crit. Just because you are still getting some of your mana back from crits. So, more times you crit, the longer you can cast. MP5, I would say is bottom priority. Spirit, no, Holy Paladins never care about Spirit. But MP5 was a huge stat during Burning Crusade, not so much now because, again, Divine Plea, you're going to get a quarter of your mana bar back from that. So MP5 is good. It's good to have, but yeah, it's fallen off on importance. So I think that is all I meant to cover with this. There are definitely different builds you can use, different talents that you can throw in into your build. For the most part, you'll get all of the important talents out of your holy tree. Beyond that, I mean, I would definitely always take divinity, and I would definitely always take benediction. Beyond that, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of room to play around with your talents. I'm sure you'll find one that fits you personally better, but that's up to you. If you like the video, be sure to leave a comment, subscribe, like, all that fun jazz. And I'll see you next time.